Hi, Rhoda. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm just waiting on Tony. Is Tony around?
I
Or
don't
should
think. I don't. Okay, he's here.
Oh, hello,
Okay.
hello.
Hi, Tony. We're waiting on you to start the meeting.
Okay, I'm sorry for that delay. Thanks so much, guys, for joining. Uh, Today is Tuesday, and as usual, we have our campus sessions, and on Thursday, we have our community sessions. Today, Nancy will join us later, so I'll just start the meeting. Rhoda will be taking us through the Splunk CMS. So I think I don't have much to say. Maybe Rhoda, you can just take over.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tony. So let me just start with a short introduction, maybe of myself. So currently, I'm a final year in Kenyatta University, and doing bachelor's degree in information technology, and I'm also facilitating some of the sessions in the Women Techstars, that is Tech for Dev, especially in cybersecurity. So I don't think, I want this session to be a bit more interactive. Hopefully everybody can be able to see the screen and you can be able to access these slides. Oh, I don't know if Joy, not Joy, but Nancy will be able to share with you the link for these slides so that you can be able also to follow along. And especially if you want to learn more about this Splunk, you can go ahead and even start deploying it in your remote, your local systems, and work on it. So let me just go ahead and just give you an overview of the agenda or what I'm going to cover with you guys. But if you have any questions, you have anything, you can still drop them on the chat session. So the first thing, I'm just going to go through the overview of general SIEM tools because we have variety of these SIEM tools. Hopefully you are not so beginners. I don't know. I don't know if you're so beginners in this defensive part of security when you are dealing with these tools. So there are a lot of them. So I'll just go an overview of what they are supposed to do, what they do, and then I'll now go into detail of Splunk. Why is it much more preferred? Why is it always among the top SIEM tools which are utilized? And then give you different features just theoretically, and then you can do it practically. You can see the different features in Splunk, especially the Splunk Enterprise, because that is the one which is mostly used in different organizations, major organizations. And also we can try to look at the different components, how you can be able to set up maybe a forwarder, receive that data, and also maybe the indexing, the storage of that data, and try to look at search through that data. Because mostly this, what I'm referring to data is different logs. They can be real-time logs, real-time monitoring of your machine, real-time monitoring of other hosts or machines, and also maybe an historical data. Like the data set we are going to use is an old data. I just managed to get it. So that is what we are going just to learn with it. But you can still access it. There's the links there to the Google Drive. You can access it and try to learn on your end. So that is basically what I'm going to cover. Yes, for this today's session. Yeah, so let me just go ahead and go into detail now of these SIEM tools, just give you an overview of what they are. So SIEM, the word SIEM is a short form for Security Information and Event Management. So these are just softwares which are designed to collect and analyze different events, or let me call them logs, activities from different sources across your entire IT infrastructure. It can be your organization, wherever you are using it. So they just collect that data. So basically, this is specifically to the security part of it. We still have some of the log monitoring tools which are used just to perform this log monitoring. But now when you come to SIEM, we want to just specify into the security logs and all that information. So like data, so most of this data is collected from different for devices. You can collect from different devices in your IT, like organization or infrastructure, your servers, your domain controllers, especially if you are in the Windows servers, you have this domain controller, the different domains, the accounts there, hosts there. You can collect all that data and try to analyze, because here we are dealing on this fourth part. Let me call it the defensive part of security. You are the blue teamer somewhere in organization. You are trying to like analyze the different traffic, the logs, what is happening in that within that system, so that by any chance in that organization there is an incident, you can be able to dig deeper and get the source of it, what is happening within your system. So hopefully you are getting something, because I'm trying to just explain using the basic terminologies. So that is what these SIEM tools do. And Splunk, we have a lot of them. So Splunk, there's this, the IBM security, there's this Exabeam. Exabeam is also another good one. There's SolarWinds. There's what else? The Q radar for IBM. So there's also another one. That's also another SIEM tool. And when we come to, okay, that one I'll touch when we go to maybe analyzing the different types of Splunk, because there's also the cloud part SIEM tools. Like in Azure, you can find, you have Azure Sentinel. In AWS, there's the AWS, what is it called? Watch. Yes, there's also another that SIEM tool. So they also like trying to collect the different logs and activities or events based on those your infrastructure in the cloud, and maybe analyze or give you, because you can go ahead and set some of these security alerts in real-time information or data, the one you are collecting, or maybe for now we'll deal with an historical data, but real-time data you can also be able to visualize and come up with security alerts. Maybe after maybe a certain threshold has been bypassed, you can get that alert. The alerts you can get either through your the dashboards, like as we see in the Splunk, you can easily get those alerts. So that's maybe a short overview about it, because also in the part of forensics and these security incidents, because when you are performing a forensic analysis, you are trying to gather some of the like details about maybe events or incidents which has happened. And there's also always this, especially in digital forensics, there's always this a difference between an event and an incident. So I don't know if on your end you maybe have an idea how to differentiate. What's the difference between an event and incident? Because these are two terms. So I don't know, I want just you to be interactive. I just don't want to have an audience where it's a monologue. I think a dialogue is a good enough thing. We can be able to interact, and you can type in what you think about events. So how can you be able to differentiate event from, maybe, let me call them maybe event logs and incident logs. Or let me call them events and incident, because this is mostly what you deal with it when you come now to maybe forensics analysis. After an event has happened, after something has happened, you are trying to gain, to go through now all your logs in these systems, looking what has happened. Because, okay, let me just go ahead. I don't know if I can be able to see the chat on my end. Yes, so let me just go ahead and differentiate, because most of the times you find that this events is just like the current normal logs or whatever is happening within your system. But if there's a suspicion of maybe an alert, because some of the incidents is due to a potential security breach. So that's how you identify these incidents. And these event logs is just like information related to the operation, the normal operations, and the usage of different applications and devices in your system. So, and also a log. I think also a log is a term we should be able to define. So remember, a log is just like any entry or a file that contains the raw data in your system, stored in your device, whatever device you are using. So that is just the logs about it. Yes. So far, if you have any question, please just drop it on the chat. I cannot be able to see clearly on the chat. So hopefully we can continue. Sorry for that. Okay. So there are different, now when we come to specifically Splunk, this one is just like the different companies or organizations which are utilizing Splunk, the Splunk Enterprise, to perform their daily analysis, log monitoring, performance monitoring, application monitoring. And remember that one of important things in Splunk, especially for now, here we want to discuss the security part of it, but it has now these advanced features where you can find that even this what I call, let me call them maybe these companies, the e-commerce stores, they can perform this target what? This target more, is it advertisement, where you find that you know the behaviors of your customers, you can be able to learn about it, and then you perform now this, you advertise or you market, it's called target marketing. I think it's called target marketing, where you can be able now to just specifically know the behaviors of your customers and be able to now market or specifically know this is their trend. This is the time they are always online. They can be able to view, because you are able to see somebody maybe viewing the actions they do on your web sub. If it's our e-commerce store, you can be able to see the actions they do. When do they specifically buy? After how many times? What are the most of the times they are online? So you can be able to come up with those kind of analysis and be able to, those ones is basically on the e-commerce stores and those companies. That's why they are doing this customer target marketing, and they can be able to sell out their products. So also Splunk has those different features. There's also the machine learning features where you can do the future trade analysis and analytics for the future trends in your organization. So basically, as much as we are trying to look at the security part of it, Splunk is still very wide. You can use it on your business part of it. Okay, so like any other SIEM tool, it will just collect. It allows to pass these collected logs, because most of them you might find they are unstructured. Some could be very structured. Hopefully you are getting when I say structured and unstructured. Unstructured is just logs which are not well formatted. They don't have a source type. You're not so sure about them. Even when you look at maybe yourself, when you look at them, they are not well, and you cannot understand them. So it takes both the unstructured and the structured data, now log and those and analyzes them. Whether historical, whether real-time, you do the real-time monitoring, and you can specify the source type, or you can also use now the add-ons, the other features like the application features here in Splunk. We'll see them and be able now to perform this analysis through now searching. You can do the search using the search ads, and also you can do the data models using the pivots. Yes. And remember, all this data you are collecting, most of it, all these logs, they have to be stored in indexers. As we'll see, and the architecture of this Splunk, there are different types. You can deploy different indexers in your organization. So these indexers will basically store this data, and now you have to use the search ads to be able now to come up with this analysis, so that you can be specific of what specific aspect you need to know from your data. So these are just some of the various like monitored data. The common one, I think everybody here has come across them. The application performances, the system performances. This one basically like when you are trying to look at your CPU usage, your what else can you do? The memory. You can try to analyze those ones. Those ones are just like system data here. And also you can do this process monitoring for the different maybe application web, the integrations. These ones you can collect data from your firewalls, the intrusion detection systems, like the Suricata. You can just connect it and be getting those the logs passing through those routers. Like even for the data set we'll use, it has some of a router I think it's a Cisco Wsa tool, which has some of those logs which were collected from it. So we can still use that one to learn more about this Splunk monitoring and how it functions. So benefits, just like any most of the SIEM tools, there's the real-time screen visibility. You can see your data, the logs, the performance, the system monitoring in real time. You can perform artificial intelligence. So this is also another like added feature there. You have to add another application, which is an add-on, and most of these applications, they are hosted in Splunk base, because Splunk has different communities within itself. So that one is mostly for these applications which you can integrate within the Splunk Enterprise, and also help you perform now these data such as now like the artificial intelligence, troubleshooting failures, because especially in security, when you have an incident, some security breaches, you can be able to identify that failures. Also, maybe in your system, if some system are failing, you can be able to identify that. If some users maybe are trying to access this web server, you can be able to see where the issue is. Is it on the end of the users? Is it what kind of errors are they getting? Yes. Then you can also gather useful operational intelligence. This is now when you come now to the especially in the sales part of it, you can be able to know what type of actions people are doing on your web applications. What are they being able to purchase? So from there, you can build a very good model of your e-commerce, your stores, and be able to grow. So, and then the most important feature, you can be able to visualize every thing. All the searches, you can be able to visualize them with graphicals, and also the pivots, data modeling using pivot. That one, the best thing with now using the pivot, you don't even need to know about this query language using the SPL, the search language there. You just don't need to know about it. You can just use the pivots, and get up with these designs. So the dashboards, this is where maybe you come up with a report. If you want to export that report or you want to save it, you can just save it in a dashboard, and you'll be able to see that. Then warnings is based on the alerts you create based on your data and actions which you want to be triggered. So this is now basically going to first to the different versions of Splunk. Splunk comes up with 3 versions. These are the main versions which you'll also find. If you happen to go to one of the links, maybe Splunk main web download for the other products, you'll find that we have Splunk Enterprise, which is I think the best one, not the best because it's also the same as Splunk Cloud, but this one has the Splunk Enterprise and Cloud have advanced features than this Splunk Lite. And Splunk Enterprise, you have to pay for it. I think the reason most organizations don't utilize Splunk is because of the cost. Some small organizations, it's very hard to afford it because you have to pay for it. The enterprise, you have to pay for it. And then we have Splunk Lite, that is the free version of it, but it doesn't have advanced features like the Splunk Enterprise. So Splunk Cloud, this is the one you can deploy it in your cloud-based platforms, whether it's Azure, whether it's AWS, you can deploy Splunk Cloud from there. It has the same features with Splunk Enterprise, but just like the way you utilize the cloud resources, you have to pay for what you use. As long as you're using it, you are going to pay, like pay as you go. Is it pay as you go? Is it pay as you use? So that one you pay it through your usage. How much you use, you pay for that. So these are the different now features. We'll be able to see this one practically, these features of Splunk. The data ingestion, because you have also to import data. You have to monitor if it's a system you're monitoring, you have to add data to Splunk. You have the tool, if you don't add data, it won't make sense. So you have to add data for it to be able to now perform this analysis, to monitor everything and give you maybe some of these response triggers to create. So there's the data indexing. This is the storage will perform this one practically, and you'll be able to see that. And mostly it helps for speedier searches so that you can be able to just know where you have stored your data, what source type it is, and you can search through your events and the logs and the data. So there's the searching, data searching. So this one we use the search aids. We'll be able to also go through that. They're using alerts. I'll also show you how the alerts are created. And it will be based on the trigger you want, because for the trigger, this one you can use emails, RSS feeds, and also the cron. Okay, this one before even during the creation of an alert, you can it will depend on whatever you see. We'll see these are the different options which are provided there in the Splunk. Because
hello, Rhoda.
Yes, hello.
Oh yeah, let me cut you short a bit. Are you presenting anything else? Because we are still on the overview SIEM.
Yes. I'm presenting. I don't know. Okay, let me just go back and then present my old screen, because I was only presenting the slides.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
Oh, that time you have been able to see only the first page.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me present once again.
Okay.
The entire screen. I think it will be better, because if I happen to navigate, you can be able to see how I'm navigating. What about now? Hopefully you can see my screen. Let me just go to the slides.
Yeah, it's fine now.
Oh my! So all the time you've just been listening. Please, I want us to be interactive. If you have a question, you can just maybe unmute, or maybe I think when you raise a question, an hand, I can be able to see. Okay, so let me just go to. So I think you never saw about the agenda. This is the agenda of what I'm talking about. This is the overview, the one I was discussing about it. But hopefully the slides will also be shared so that you can go through them at your own time. This is now where I think I've already passed here. So I was here trying to explain the different features, the indexing, the data searching, the using alerts, and the dashboards. These dashboards will also see them, the data models where you can just perform the pivoting or the analysis of this visualization without even doing the searching. So let me go just directly to the components. So whatever is covered here in this flow down here is just the main components, and I want to cover them here with using this architecture, this good architecture here. So if you look at this architecture, we have, let me just start from the basic part of it, the first layer down here. So down here, this is like your data sources. Where are you getting that data from? What do you want to analyze? What is it that you need to keep track of its performance, of its application? So all these as the different tools you can be able to get your data from. The different, because even if it's a different operating system, it doesn't matter whether you are using different machines. All those machines you can be able to get that data and just forward them to any of these. So before I continue, in an enterprise scenario, we have, in an organization, we have a very large amount of data, different devices, even you can find that organization, it has different branches within different maybe parts. So it's not ideal that you're just going to use a Splunk Enterprise. Splunk Enterprise, we have different components. So we can have a forwarder. The forwarder is the first component, where you find that you just deploy a server which will just be forwarding traffic. It will just be forwarding traffic to your indexer. This is just data, and then it's just forwarding. This is a server generally for forwarding all the traffic. Even you can deploy it inside your machine. Most of the times you find you can deploy it inside your machine just to forward the data. In this machine, you don't want to perform any analysis, but you can just, assuming this we have a domain controller, you can just use that one as our forwarder. It will get all the data and forward it to maybe another server. another domain control. And then from there, you can deploy different indexers to store different types of logs. If these ones are network, these ones are for the databases, those indexers. Because here we are assuming of a large organization. The Splunk mostly is used by very, very large organization with the different types of data. So it's not ideal just to deploy the enterprise on a single machine, like the same way, the way I will show you. And then from there, you can now have the other, the search ads, or where you'll be able now to perform the visualizations to get from these deployed indexers. And most of the time you find that these indexers and the search ads can just perform that within the same the servers or same computer. It will depend on the organization size and the data you are generating, the daily data generated by these applications and the systems. So, and here on the forwarders, because they are collecting the data directly from these data sources, you find that we have two different types of it. We have the heavy forwarders and the light forwarders. The heavy forwarders, they do try to sort out these logs. They come up with the source types, but the light forwarders, they just get that unstructured log or the data or the events, and then they just forward them to the indexers. There's no time, they don't perform now the heavy side of just analyzing everything. So they are a bit quicker, so they just forward it to the indexers, and then from the indexers, you can directly go you can start searching your data, because indexers mostly what it's doing is compressing that data, storing it, maybe for monitoring, for analysis, for a specific amount of time. Because sometimes in this Splunk, you cannot just try to store all that data. That data cannot be stored without compressing it. So it has to be compressed. Yes. So this basically is just the links. The first link here will give you you'll be able to access the data set we are going to use from the Google Drive. Just as very short, a very simple data set, is not that much. Just needed it for the purpose of this practical. And then the rest, if you want to download, if you want to go and see what the universal forwarders look like, you can go ahead and click on these links. You'll be able to get these slides, so you can practically go there. So I think now maybe let me go to my Splunk and be able to show you. Okay, so it's already here. So this is my Splunk. Even before maybe I start the Splunk. Okay, so when you download Splunk, I think when you're downloading is quite directly to the point. You download it, and then you'll be able to access it using your local host. If you have maybe XAMPP, you know how to access this web. It's like a web application. You'll access it through your web local host on this port 8000. It will depend. If you have something else running on that port, you can still use it. Will still automatically maybe increment this port by 1 or 2, maybe up until 8005. And then from there, you can be able to log in. You'll have set your admin and the password from the download. So one of the things before even you download Splunk, you have to make sure that you have an account with the Splunk. So you have to set your account, and then from there you can get the download link, and you can be able now to go ahead and install it in your machine. It will depend whether in Linux, whether in Windows, in Kali, in Parrot, in any Linux machine, you can be able to do it. But for me, I've already set up that. So I just want, this is the first page. When you log into your Splunk, this is what you'll get as the first interface. So if you look at on the left, let me call it left. Here we have the apps. The first thing is the search and the reporting, the Python. So by default, you'll find maybe 2, or maybe you can find just search and reporting, and the rest you have to go and add. If you have a specific data for that purpose, you have to go and add these add-ons. This one is what we call now the add-ons. like for the purpose of this practical, or this data we are going to use, make sure that you go and add this Splunk add-on for Unix, and also for there's the Cisco Wsa add-on. So maybe let me just go and show you the process, even before maybe adding any data or anything. So if you come here, you'll be able to see the different adds on. You can add the different applications. You can add this, but you can just come here and specify, because we know ours are just maybe Splunk add-ons. You can just click on add-ons so that you can filter, and then you can search. The first one is just Linux based, because this one will just help you in mapping this Linux data you input here, and making your search ads a bit more easy to understand, to get the context of this data. So if you choose the source type as Linux-based, you'll find this option for security, because there are security logs of a Linux server. So this one, you just come and install. You click on install, and you can be able to add it into your Splunk Enterprise applications. So the other one is Cisco. So this is the Splunk add-on for Unix or Linux. The other one is Cisco Wsa. So this one is the Cisco Wsa. Basically, this one, because we have a Cisco data there in that folder when you happen to go ahead and get access to it. So these are just some of the these web security appliance data there. So it will help you mapping of those data. But still, because even for the first Linux data logs, we can still map them directly, but it's cool to add this Wsa, these add-ons, so that your data can be easily analyzed and searched. The time you are searching, you don't have some missing fields, some things you cannot clearly be able to identify. Yes, so that is just all about the apps. The apps and the add-ons, these are just the add-ons. And then when you come here on this, the explore feature here in Enterprise, there's the first one when you can perform maybe a tour, you can see what happens in your Splunk. There's the most important, the adding of data. This is where you can add your data, but there are two ways. First, let me just show you the interface. So this is just another link up to the Splunk as, and then the documentation. So here you have, here you can just choose whatever you want to visualize here, whether you are the dashboard you want to visualize. If you have a dashboard which is tracking some real-time data, you can be able to choose it from here. If you want just to see the dashboard doing some of the, like your current system usage, the CPU, just the metrics from your machine, the host machine, because sometimes it's also good to keep track of your Splunk Enterprise, especially the machine which most of the indexers, you have to keep track of the usage, because if maybe the data you are adding there is too much, it can lead to your machine maybe collapsing or maybe crashing. So it's good that you always, but it will, before that, it will always give you an alert. Okay, so that is just maybe the first interface. So when you go to the at top here, we can see that you see your account settings, your name, you are the admin, your what. And for this one, remember, I've just deployed an enterprise only. I've not added any forwarders here. This one is just like I'm doing it remotely. So I don't have an organization where maybe I can go ahead and try to connect to the indexers, to the what. No, I'm just going to do it remotely here in my machine, just for a remote monitoring of my machine and the data sets I have. If maybe I have another maybe cloud VMs, I can try to collect the data from them and forward them in my machine. But you have to be also very keen. You don't want to just forward all the data there, even some of them you are not going to analyze and make your system, now you are still like interfering with your storages. So just before the Splunk admin name here, you can see that we have this green icon. So this is green. The green icon just gives you an overview, the status, the health status of your Splunk. Sometimes it might be red, which now maybe shows that some functionality, some deployments have issues, a lot of issues. So you have to go into detail, and it will be able to, you will be able to see. Yeah, so you can see mine is a green. So this feature is working properly. If it's yellow, it's just having some issues, experiencing some of the problems. If it's gray, this feature is disabled. You cannot, like maybe that account, the user, because also here you can add different users. Remember this enterprise, I'm not in an organizational level, I'm not the only person who is going to interact with it. I love different users, like different, if you go on, let me just not rush ahead, and might skip some of these things. So I'll show you how you can have different users, different people who are interacting with this Splunk Enterprise, and they can be just performing a specific task. For me, I might be the admin, but these guys, you come up with somebody just to do the searching, another one just to perform this reporting, and this like indexing only. So you find that some even they don't need to know the status of that enterprise or that Splunk of ours. So you don't even, you show, maybe here you find that their icon is gray. So the messages, maybe if you have any issues with your Splunk, you'll get it here. Like mine, you can see there is unable to initialize a modular input here in this Splunk gateway. So for them, I'm not using anything of it. So no problem. So maybe if you have any alerts and you want them to receive through a message, this is where you'll be able to see them. So the settings, I think after the main interface here, settings is also one of the important parts, because you'll interact with it a lot of times. Here you can see an overview or the summary of whatever is here in the Splunk. Starting from the knowledge where you can do the searches and reports. You can see from the reports you have, any alerts you have. You can create data models just by clicking over here, the event types. If you have any tags you have created or any tags in your data, you can still view them from here. So event types is just like the different types. You'll see them when you add some data, but already mine, I've already added the data. I'll just show you the process, and then you can clearly see it on my end. So we have the fields, the lookups, the user interface. So all of these ones is whatever mostly we're going to interact with, and you'll be able to see that. So here the system, the server settings, server controls. Most of this one, just by default, we're not even going to touch on it. But the data, you have to know the different types of data inputs, how you can input it, whether you want to monitor from a forwarder, from a receiver, you have to specify the port. Especially the time you want to use a receive, you want to set a forwarder just to forward the data from that end to this. So you have to come here and specify the port. So when you click here, maybe I can go, but before even I go there, I want just to go through an overview of everything. And then indexes, the different indexes you have already in this enterprise, you can be able to see them. Remember, indexes is just like storing the different types of this data, of these logs you have. The source types, now you can be able to give one to maybe a specific indexer. You can just, by default, we have the main index. The main index, if you look at it, you'll find that by default, Splunk has already populated some of these fields, some of this data, because by itself, Splunk is still monitoring this whole application by itself. So you'll find some of these have already been populated. So, but you can create, customize yours. So the indexes you have to customize, because you are the one who is inputting that data, and you are the one who is maybe going to analyze it. So it should be clear and easy to get it. So that is the reports, the source types, all these will be able to see them. The forwarder management, this is if you have many forwarders, you can be able to manage them from here. You can be able to maybe see which one is active, which one is not. Yes, and then there's this distributed search is when you have maybe different search ads. You have maybe different these enterprises which are connected, somebody performing distribution searches, or you have different users. If they perform these searches, they should be able to see that. Then the roles and the users, this is where maybe if you want to add a user for this Splunk, you can just come here and add them. The management authentication methods, these ones are for the users, and the authentication of this Splunk Enterprise. So with that, I think I've covered mostly like what this is just the activity. When you triggered it, if alerts, you'll get them from here. Then help, definitely, you know, is where you can get any, if you want to get any documentation or anything more about this Splunk. So let me just go directly to data, to inputting, because we want to add some data. So the first thing you just click on add data. And then here you'll find, let me just scroll down. So even when you follow these are just some of the popular data sources. For us, we don't have any cloud computing here platform, the networking, no. So, but this cloud computing, you might find maybe some of the VMs. The operating system, I'm just going to utilize mine here, and we'll be able to see. So let me just, these data sources you can see here is because I've already populated some of this data. So you might find that they are already reflecting here. If you are, maybe you are new, the first time you'll find that your Splunk is just empty. So the first thing you can upload from your computer, some of the files, you can just go ahead and just click upload. Just the same way we have on the link, on that Google link, the Google Drive link there, you'll find that we have a folder with 3 different folders called WW1, WW2, and WW3. I think the last one is Cisco, the Cisco logs. So the first 3 are just like web servers, which you have to go ahead and upload, because that one is just files, and they are from 2017. So that data is not a real-time data, it's just an historical data we want to use here and be able to perform these searches or perform these practical. So I think it will look something like this. You'll have WW1, 2, 3, and the Cisco iron port. This is the one. So from here, you'll find 2 types of data, the access and the secure. So the first one, you have to go and just upload one by one, because you have to specify the source type, where is it coming from, the host. So you can see already it's been uploaded here, the access log. So you can just go ahead and click next. Hopefully you can see my screen clearly. So if you just click next, there is now where you are supposed to set the source type. If you are maybe performing this on an indexer or a forwarder, you don't have even to know about this. Your forwarder, it will depend whether it's a light one or it's a heavy one. It will perform this now, coming up with the source type, and even you can be able, but some of them automatically they'll be able to detect the source type. So for us here, because it's the first ones are web application, web server logs. So for me, I'll just go ahead and look at on the web. You just scroll down here on the source type, because here is what you are going to search, the source type. And for me, I want a source type which is web access combined, not this with cookies. So I just scroll down up to the web. Then you can see the option of web, and you can be able to choose the access combined. But by default, even when you look at these logs here, because this is just a preview of what is happening, these logs you can clearly see, like we can still clearly, they are just some web data here from an e-commerce store, some post request, HTTP responses from the server, the response code there. So we can, this is not such unstructured. We can clearly read through it. You can be able to see through it. But for us, just make sure that, because also for the ease of indexing and searching, so make sure that that is the source type as access combined. Then click next, the input settings. So here's where you have to change. By default, if you don't change, you find that host field, it will take the remote name of your machine. So here, just come and change the host field to W. For the purpose of this practical, you can change it to WW1. If you can remember the folder name, the host field to be that folder name, so that we have this data is just a matter of for us to learn and be able to know what happens. And then the index, now you can create yours. You'll have to create an index for the web, those web data sources, to create them as web. And then you can web, there's nothing, no need to change anything here. Everything by default is okay. The optional where they will be given by the Splunk, you can see that so the index name is there. So there's nothing else here to change, just leave it as default, or this as default because it's just a small data. Then you can save. So because I've already created an index with this name. So maybe I can add one there just for the purpose of going to the next, or I can just go ahead and choose web. You can see I have already created two, but history, main, and the summary are there by default. But you just don't want to make all your indexes or all your logs in the main index. So it will be very difficult when you're searching. So let me just choose web. And then click next. But you can see here on your left side here, you'll be able to get an overview of each and maybe a small description of what is happening. Then you can review your data, the one you want, your file you want to upload, the source type if it's okay, and you submit. So that is the first process. So let me just go back to the other part, because for me, I've already uploaded these files. I'm not going to upload any of it once again, because I don't want to dedump it or just add multiple data here. So I just want to show you the different source types, the way you will perform. If you want, you can go ahead and try it. So the other part is the secure. We are still on the same folder. We have the access logs and the security logs, which are taken from say web server. And then the last one is the Cisco one. So the Cisco, you'll have even to create for it a different, the index name will be different, but also the index will also, the index host will, the host will be different, and also the index. So you'll have to create it for it. So here on the secure, so we'll just go ahead and open. So it's done. So let me just click next. That's the same process we have done with the other one, but here on the same source type. This one, remember, they are security. In fact, this one, if you look at them, you might find somebody maybe a login, failed password. So because we don't have a real-time organization here working, or application here we can monitor. If you have an application, maybe you can try it. You can just drop the link. And some of the whatever, or you can just share with us, or you can just drop the link. We can monitor it from here. So this is just like a security login, a session here which was happening. Some of these users were unable to log in. So I'll just go ahead and even look at it. You can be able to see it is some Linux-based server logins. If you look clearly on it, but assuming now we don't have that, especially the time you're getting these logs or this data, you have to know where this source is, so that from there you can clearly come up with a correct source type. So let me search this one, because so here we can just go to Linux Secure and click next. That's our source type. And this Linux Secure has been enabled by the add-on we added for the Linux, Unix, and for Linux and the add-on.
What did they do to the data? What changes did they do?
Yeah, that as we are ahead.
So Splunk.
Even when I open any file, I'm able to know who has touched it and when they authorized.
So you look as Splunk.
Hello, I don't know. I can hear some background.
It's okay, Rhoda. I've taken care of that.
Okay, yes, okay. So the host field here, you just give it the name. For us, we are just sticking with our ww1. This one is for the folder, for that folder one, so that you can be able to identify it clearly where the source is. And then the index here I've already created. You can create a new one, the security index. And we can now review what we have set here and then submit. So that one is basically from for the files uploading. And the first, the ww1, the second folder, you can just do the same thing, and the other one. So I'm not just going to do that for this other part. Maybe the last part, because that last part has a different way, the Cisco one. The Cisco, let me just try to upload one of the files from that Cisco device. There are logs captured from that device. So let me just go ahead and do it because it's different. So the first folder, the second one, third one, uploading those files will just be the same. The reason I needed to use them because at least we have something we can analyze, some data which we can try to manipulate, we can look at it. So this is the Cisco ironport web.log. So just come here. So here the source type, you have to search for it if say you have some network and security. Remember this Cisco, they are mostly like routers. I'm not so sure of this device. Maybe if we can go into deeper of these logs, you can be able to get the device, what it entails. But this one's a network and security device. So you can just go ahead and choose this. So you know it's a web security device. So you can just go ahead and choose the Cisco squid here, the source type. You have to get the source type correctly if you want to get good results after analyzing your data. So and then the next you input, this one will change the host maybe to Cisco so that you can be able to identify it during our searching. The index, you can come up and just come up with a new index called networking. And you can save your index, and then because this is basically the most important part when it comes to setting up the source type and the input setting, because this is what will help you when it comes to searching within those logs and those data. And this part can be performed by very many people within different parts. That's why we have different users here in Splunk. So, and then this is the review, what you have processed here, and then you can submit. Because I have already the data, I don't want to perform multiple uploads here. So that is just basically about the file upload and what maybe you can be able to do with the data source, which will be able, you'll find them in that Google Drive link. So the other part, which is also most important about now data ingestion, is the monitoring. So you can just come here and click monitor. Monitoring, you can choose what you want to monitor. Whether it's a local event in your machine, you can just choose the first one. There's different option you can select from here. Do you want to monitor a security, a secure gateway, some mobile, whatever device you want to monitor here, you can just come and click on it. So the first thing maybe we can perform is just a local monitor of our machine, because that is the easiest one. If you have an Active Directory you want to monitor, you can just come here, and now from there you can specify where it is, what it has, the target. So all that information you'll be able to specify from here. If it's another Splunk platform, you want to configure to listen to that network port, you can just come here and specify. Whether it's an application, you can do that. An HTTP event collector, you can be able to do that, because this one you are trying to like this is real time. Whatever is happening on that device, you'll be able to capture it. The files and directories, especially in your machine, if you have a specific file you want to keep tab of, if there's, especially in the clone tabs, if you can, I don't know if you have done much on the clone tabs in the Linux part. In the Linux, the cron tabs are very important, especially the time you want to automate some of these tasks, because the output from that automation, if there's a script which was running, you can be forwarding it to a specific folder or a directory. So from there, you can still be monitoring that directory, and you can add those, if it has different logs or something which will produce, you can just come here, search for that file or directory, and you click continuously monitor or index once. For us, we just want to perform a continuous monitoring. So let me just go to, this one is remote event logs. Maybe you have remote host in your computer, you can come here and monitor them repeatedly. You don't have to specify the time or what, you can just come here and you enter them. So for us, you can just perform a local event log monitor. This one is just for this machine, the current machine I'm using. So by default, because we are running it on a local host. It is able to read through and see what types of logs we have there. So if you look here, you have a lot from this machine. This is my machine logs. So maybe you can select the application only. Let me just remove them. But I had already selected all of them here. You can see that I had already selected most of them. So you can still select all of them. There's no need. Most of them even doesn't have anything. But the security are the important. Maybe we want to look at the logins, failures, anything, the application. Let me just add all of them and then click next. From there, the host field it will by default take from your machine. If you want to rename it, you can rename it. And if you don't change the index, that logs will definitely be on your main index. So, and then you can just review and see what you'll be able, the logs, the kind of logs you are going to look at, to capture from now and forth. So for me, I've already captured some of this, so I don't want to also go ahead and start monitoring. So that is how you perform a real-time monitoring of your data. So the last part you can be able to add data into this Splunk is through this forward. So here you have now to go ahead and specify a forwarder. You select a forwarder. You have to specify whether it's in a VM. You have to specify it, and that's when now it comes to. If I go to the settings, you have to make sure that your Splunk Enterprise is listening in a specific port. And also by default, let me just go to forwarding and receiving, because those are some of the settings you have even to set before, because if other people in that organization, they are trying to forward their logs here, or other machines which have already been deployed with the universal forwarder, they are trying to forward their machines here. They have to find that your Splunk Enterprise is listening. So you have to come here and make sure that you have the port, the default port is okay. So this is the first default port, the 997, which you have to make sure that the status is enabled so that it can be able to receive logs maybe from different now machines. And then we have this other one. This is mostly if you are using the external network. I should not add this one. Within this one, I should just disable it, this port. This port, you use it in this of universal forwarders. If you want to forward that data to this enterprise from an external network, you have to make sure that port 11,000 will be mapped to port 997. So you have to specify the external IP address for this the enterprise in your machine or in the forwarder, and also you specify this external IP address, this 11,000, and then that one will be mapped in this port 997 here in this local enterprise, this Splunk. So with that, I think now we can just go ahead and look at, because I think time is a bit, we are running behind time. So let me just go ahead and we do some of this analysis. We try to look, because I've already added the data, but so far I think we have covered most of it. So this is what the search aid, let me call this some of the, one of the remote search aids. You'll find it on the main page. There's the search and reporting tool there. So you just click on it and it will take you to this interface here. Now from here, you can perform now the analysis. And because our data, so you can see this one is for the last 24 hours. So remember, I know my indexes, that's why I'm telling you indexes are important. So the index here, I know my main index as some of the monitoring events. I'm monitoring some current events in my machine. So you can be able to see the different timelines. So this is just what we are doing here. My machine, basically some of these from the laptop. And you can see this, how the fields here have been arranged clearly. You can be able to see clearly what is here, some of the topics. The fields here just define, they can be able to even to limit your search. If you want to look just from the last 1 minute, 2 minutes, or the count based on the days on what, for us, maybe I can go with hours, but no problem for now. For now, I want this is just currently what we are monitoring. And then here you can see there's this green bar here is just the timeline for that hour. And then host is still my laptop. So this is just for the last 24 hours in the my main. I've not specified, maybe I would just want to see the source types, maybe the application, the security logs. I've just searched through them. So there's nothing here I'm filtering. But for us, I want us to use an all time here. You have to switch SIEM because the data source we have is quite old. It's not something we are doing a real-time monitoring. So on the index, I know I have web. So let me just search and see if I get all those. And the web for me, because web is where now this is the index where I've hosted the WWA1 and 2, 3 hosts. So you can be able to see all those files and the logs from there. And when you look at now, the host is not one host. You'll find that you should have 3. Mine, this is the local host. This is where now for me, I have some duplicates here. But on your end, if you are using this data set, you'll have 3. So all these 3, these are the combination of those logs. So let me just count them, just close it, and you can be able to see them from here. So looking at these logs, we can be able just to see we can see the event type, the date here, the source. So the source here is access log, the source type access. So we have 2 source types. So let me just filter that. I want just to see the access combined only. And then the status of that event. So you can see this one is, it was, you also go back. I don't know why. Yes, I want to filter to only one source type. So that one is not a must even you know this language. This language, this indexing, because this is what you are, this, it's just like the SQL queries you perform, the select from, the same way you do those SQL queries, you have to perform this SPL search query here in this Splunk so that you can filter out your data and see any results you want to see. So from here, you can, if you want to add more fields just here so that you can be able to view what is happening, you can add the client IP. I want to see where that, whose IP was that. What else do I want to see? The method or the purchase, the action they performed, but the action there is no need because we have different actions and they can perform different multiple actions because this one is based on a web e-commerce store. So that data we can still see it from here. So these fields, the fields will be displayed. All these are the selected fields which you can be able to see clearly from here. So the actions, we have different actions because this one is an e-commerce store. There was some purchases, the add to cart. If a customer or client or that IP address managed to do purchases, you can see the count. This was the highest with this. So it has already performed for you the count, the add to cart. Some people maybe added to cart. You can see the number is a bit varying. Some people added to cart and they did not purchase any of these viewing, just people who came to view. And you can go into detail and also filter out based by the client IP addresses, because from here you can see the IP addresses which were here, which were performing some of these activities. So instead now of going to, unfortunately, I cannot just take you through understanding all these logs. I just want us to go ahead and maybe perform a search based on the failed logins, because that is, I think that is a security thing we should be clear on, and try to look at what happens. Or because just as, because I'm still in this web data, we can try to look at some of these online sales purchases based on country, because we have the IP addresses of these clients. These are logs data which are being collected anyway. So we can be able to map out where these guys are coming from. And we want to be able to know maybe the purchases. The status should always be okay. We don't want to see those who had issues, maybe the server errors. So this is something we can filter out. So let me just go ahead and write, write for you this command. So the purchases, you just have to specify here the action is equals to purchase. And then you can go ahead and watch. So for us, we know the web, the access, we don't want to filter out the host. So the host, we can still use all of them. There's no need for filtering. And then we want to see those who were successful or managed to perform the search. This status of 200, everybody, I hope you know this is the the okay response from the server. So let me first search that. And then this is the filtered result, but you can clearly I'm not good with it. So maybe I can go ahead and try first to come up with the IP location. So here you use the piping, just like the way you use the grep, that pipe for grep when you are trying to filter out in Linux. So you have to add that, and then you specify the IP location. You want to filter by the client IP. Hopefully it's called the client IP. You have to make sure that this field is the same as that, the client IP. And then you can also, let me just search that so that we can also go step by step. Still so far it's not that class. So because to make it a bit statistical so that I can see it maybe in a table format, I can pipe in a geostatistics so that we can be able, let me pipe in a geostatistics command. So some of this now is what you'll have to learn, some of this command. The geostatistics now you want to perform it count by still the client IP. Then you can search your data. And then even before, maybe as we wait for this, let me even not go for the visualization first. Let's see first from the statistics. So from the statistics, there are different modes of now searching. Here we have the verbose, the fast, and the smart mode. The verbose mode is the heaviest one, the slowest. It has a lot of things. So you can just filter out to the smart mode. And we have this fast mode, which is it's very, very light. So we don't want to use it. So mine, I have now like something maybe I can relate. Even we have the location, exactly the longitude, the latitude. You can see here, it has given me all the IP addresses, all of them here. There are a lot because some of this data is a bit duplicated, and the specific location where you can get it, the longitude, latitude. So this is the statistics, but you can visualize it because no one will be able to understand something like that. No, it's a bit very, very, it needs maybe someone who knows statistics to understand latitude -56 is where in this country. So from there now you can see these are just we have just looked at the purchases, nothing else. The action here is just the purchases based on what? On the status and the client IPs on the location. So maybe you can, from there, you can be able, even you can now change, this is the cluster map. Cluster map is by default maybe the best one when you're using a geostatistics. And you can be able to know these IP addresses based from here, who has performed such many searches. So here you can see it's just like this first IP address. Maybe you could have gone ahead and added the users there also, because you can still be able to map that. And then from here, if you want maybe to, still not clear because we also have a lot of data, you can remove some of these other. But that one, you can just use, remove the others so that you can be able, because we are not so sure, we want to see the IP addresses. Here we have .110, and the others. So it's still not that clear, but this is how you might perform some of these visualizations here. So maybe we can still go ahead and perform another search. I don't know how much time we have left. I think, is it Tony? Time is such a much one. But this one you can save it even before maybe I continue. This one you can just come here and save as whatever you want, whether as not an alert, but mostly you just save it as a report. Just save it as a report, and you can maybe export it later from a report as a PDF and export it later. The statistics here, you can save it as CVE or a PDF and be able to maybe analyze later. But this is just the geographical bin, and then just geographically looking at the cells. So let me just go to the security part, maybe to look at the other logging failures, because we saw that we have some data from a Linux server here. So it's secure, bit security, and then the source type. I can just first search and see. So my search is based on all time, and this time around I'm using the smart mode. So the index here, the index you have to make sure that's correct. The index, let me just search based on this because I know the different indexes. This one should be security, the security index, where I have now the secure. If you can remember, we have the access and the secure logs. So that is the logs I want to go and be able to look at them. So let me just choose this. So these are the logs, all of them. So whether the failure, whether the past person was able to log in, these are the logs. So you can just go ahead and the source type, there is no need to specify even the source type. You can see that we only have one source type, but when you click on it, it will still be appended in our search. And we'll just filter out the source type, this which is Linux secure. So because I don't know most of these field what happens, but I just want to filter by failures. So you just come here and use now the wildcard. I think wildcard is also another thing which you are familiar with. So I just write the word fail and you give it this wildcard there so that you can be able to just search for anything where fail is appearing, can be able to appear here. So I want to make sure that okay, no problem. I want to make sure that failed, all the fields, all the logs I have here have some issue with failure, failed password. And then from there, I can just count by the users because if I look at the fields here, I should be able to see if I can. You can see I have the user field here. You can see who has the highest number of failed logins because from there now is where you go, you trace back. If somebody is maybe not, these ones are not even like the admins, like this person has the highest count of failed logins. Why? So that's why you can go ahead and look, is this even a real person or was it some brute force attacks which were being performed on this server, somebody trying to log in? So that's how you try now to go ahead and perform maybe a statistics. Let me just go ahead and perform that statistics. And then we want to count by user. We want to count by user so that you can be able to see who has maybe the highest. And then you can also go ahead and filter. So you can see these are the users, the different users we have there. And the count. This account is just based by the field logins, the events. So you can just go ahead and try because there are normal failures like failed logins attempts in a user. So you can just go ahead and filter. We want to just filter out and be able to just search for those who have count which is less or maybe more than 5 because more than 5 that one is not acceptable. So assuming now our organization, this is our organization structure. So this one you can see now we have changed. So far these are the people now who have the highest failures, login, password failures, counted more than 5. We have not counted any other. And maybe you can go ahead and see, let me go change to my verbose mode because I can see the events. Or first, let me just even pipe in removing the count. But it's already arranged, I think, well arranged. But let me just arrange it once again. I think in a descending order so that you can see clearly from the first to the last. And this, let me just first try this. This one I should space. Okay, spacing. Oh, something bad happening. So this is it. So let me just even remove it. No problem. But I wanted if maybe you can try to perform them. No problem. So let me just go back to the events and try to filter out from there. So far I know, let me look at the source. What do I have here? Oh, I have the source IP addresses. So I can still try to add these IP addresses because this is what, here we have count by the user, but we can still go ahead and, because you can still be able to view, you can still be able to add this source field And now we know the username and the what and the IP address. You can also be able to add this the port numbers which were being accessed. You can see that by default, the highest port number which was being accessed is this one. And which maybe add the highest field logins is this port. So you can still go and click on it, and that one will just filter out by the port number. You don't want to perform it. So let me, you can analyze it just based by the fields you are getting here, because I just don't want us to spend more time on this. And then process ID, you can give different one which were happening, week and date. These are the dates maybe based on a specific day, a specific second within that day, within an hour, within that. So this is how maybe you can, per month, this is just 1 month. I think already this is filtered because I can see here, this is time range. We have selected here between a specific day. Maybe they can remove the time range and we can be able to see from all time data. But there's not really any problem with it. Can still leave it as that. Okay, so I don't know, but I have just covered maybe basically through what happens here, because I still want to show you how you can perform the pivots. Maybe we can have another session and we go ahead and do more analysis. And we can also include more things. Also for alerts, remember alerts, you can also create them. Let me show you alerts because I think alerts are quite important. We still have, I think, more to cover based on this Splunk. It has a lot of features, especially if you have some data within like your system, you can be able to perform them. So these are just some of the reports which are already there. Some I've created, some they are there. So feed logging by IP addresses. We have the command. So it's no need of going to it. Maybe if I can just run it and see what this report was all about. Yes, so this one may take some time, is the visualization. This one just maybe some field logins on that month, on what, and you are counting by the source IP address. This is not just counting by the username, you're counting by the source IP addresses so that you can be able to identify some of these rogue users. Then for the alerts, you can just come here and click new alert, and then you give it a name, whether it's just, it will depend on whatever you're creating, and then a description. This alert maybe to be triggered after a user has failed, maybe has some issues or some of these IDS we have here. You can give it a description, the one you want, and then you can permission, shared, private. Remember, you are still using this application with other people. If you want it private, you can just leave it as private. Run it what? That is where now you have to choose every hour, every what, every minute. Run on cron schedule. That's where now you come up with cron. Hopefully you know how the cron tabs are scheduled. You just send the cron tab there. And then let me go back a little bit. Oh, I want just to change that cron. I want us to use the cron tab. You can maybe say every day at this specific time. You choose the time you wear. This is just the same way as cron. It's only that cron. And then you have to enter the expires, the trigger action, the number of action. Maybe you can come here and specify if now based on the host or the source IP, because most of the time you'll find the sources, or you can just customize. The best thing, you can always customize. As much as there are options you can choose from, you can always customize and alert based on a specific condition you want. It's greater than what? Maybe some 10 login failures. And then you trigger maybe for each resort or once. For each resort or once is another, maybe as something I think we can do it. We can, maybe next time we can be able to do it practically, because if you look, you take maybe the trigger by once, it will group all of them. But for each resort, everybody who is accessing it and has a field login, you'll be able to get maybe 30 field logins alert. But you can just give it one alert to all the field logins which are happening. And then add actions. Now here, that's where you choose how you want to get this. Maybe send an email to me, maybe log event. I want to receive just directly here in Splunk. You can send email, you can run a script somewhere else, you can send to Splunk mobile recipients. So it is up to you what you want to add. I think I've covered much more. The data models is another thing I need to cover. So I just don't want us to go back and maybe take more time. I think my time is so much gone. He'll forgive me for that. Yes, but maybe anything else. The data model is still same thing. This one you don't have to come up with the search heads. You just come here and describe. You give it an ID. You create, and then after you create, that's when you go ahead and on the table and the format, the table format, you can go ahead and add which type of actions the data sets you want to add there. Yes, yes. And I think with that all, maybe I can. We can just call it a session because time is far much gone. And maybe anybody with any questions. I don't know. Or should we just continue?
Oh, Rhoda.
Yes.
Yeah, it was quite an amazing session. I think for today we can stop there because
Yeah.
the session's still late, but it was quite an amazing. Actually, I've just spent my time on the laptop the whole of that time. It was really amazing. So members, if you have a question, maybe you can just unmute or raise your hand or even just just send a message in the chat.
Yes, I can see in the chat there are a lot. I don't know what, or I did not look at the chat. Yes, we can still do a part 2 on it. Yeah.
Yeah, true. We should arrange for another session. Actually, personally, I've never worked with fully with a SIEM. I had or the one I tried before, I think, was SolarWinds, but I really didn't go deep. But the Splunk-SiEM, so yeah, I loved it. I think I'll just give it a try tonight.
Okay, that's nice. That's great because we also have different ones. The best thing with the SIM tools, you'll find that even though you know one, you can still work with another one because the procedure, the stages of data ingestion, analysis, index is still the same. Like it's always the same. It's only that you'll find they are using different, maybe application or naming of these applications. Yes.
Okay, that's good. And there was a time I think I had a threat intelligence session, and
Okay.
there's a recommendation of using SIEM tools in threat intelligence. So, like, can Splunk work in that way?
Yes. Splunk, remember, is a lot. Even we have not covered maybe halfway of it or even a quarter. There is, when it comes to the machine learning part of it, I don't know, maybe I've not shown you the add-on for machine learning. And when you go there, now that's when we come now with the intelligent part of it, the artificial intelligence of this part of Splunk. You can analyze them. You can also collect. It will depend on whatever. If you have real-time data, I think all these options are quite very easy to perform. You just have to learn the process and how you perform it. For the machine learning, I'm not so good in machine learning or this artificial intelligence, but those the queries or those algorithms you come up with, some already by default you'll find Splunk has already defined some. Your work is just to run and to add your data set, perform what you want, but some you can just deploy some based on within the Splunk, and then you can customize yours.
Okay, it sounds interesting. And now, like from your point of experience, and because I believe you also have like students who still want like getting started into cybersecurity, what would be your advice like now to get to this level of working with the SIEM tools? Like, how do you start, or any background knowledge that you need?
Okay, working with a SIEM tool, basically, if you look at cybersecurity in general, cybersecurity is very large, and we have different, let me call them modules. You have like the basic cybersecurity understanding of the different, all of these ones, they interrelate because as a cybersecurity person, as an analyst, as a person who is just growing in cybersecurity, I think you'll have to know a bit of everything, even for the web applications and everything. You'll have to know a bit of everything. Because in SiEM, you can see that we are trying to analyze web application data and logs and events. So you only need to know what kind of, how requests in like web servers happen, the basic knowledge, you'll need it. So, and maybe somebody who is starting, you can just start from the basic. If you want to go specifically to the defensive part of security, you can start even from the basic security principles, understanding the different terms, the different operating systems, because if you are dealing with a Splunk, you're just not going to deal with Windows logs alone. You are going to deal with a wide verse of this data set. So you have to know the basic like functionalities of different machines, how this data, what is the importance of it. So you'll also know about, you want to learn more like some knowledge about network security. Because if you get some data from Cisco, how will you be able to identify which, or what ports? If you don't know nothing about ports, it will be a bit difficult. And then you can come to now the defensive part of it. Now you can now go ahead and now learn the different SIEM tools we have. But learning a SIEM tools, just start with from the base. If you are totally new, just start from the basic part of security. Just don't like limit yourself, because if you feel that everything is tired, you can just, but you can't just run ahead and learn a SIEM tool like Splunk, because you'll have issues. You'll have now issues in understanding different logs, the events. Like currently, more in your Windows system, what logs do you have? What are the events which you can be able to view? Like which this data is specifically stored here? Do you know the paths? Do you know the files which are associated with it? Yes, so I'll just believe that you have just to start from the basic security. If you already have those basic principles, you can now go ahead and look at the different tools which are utilized in cybersecurity, especially for the networks, the routers. How do you configure them? How are they configured? But it's not that difficult, because we are still learning, and currently these tools are changing. So you also you have to be dynamic. You also have to continue learning. So yeah, you can just start just from the basic. If you are totally beginner, cybersecurity is interesting. Just you don't have to give up, because sometimes you'll definitely feel like giving up. The offensive side of it is where now you go to the penetration testing, the red teamers. I know most of the people basically go to the ethical hacking of cybersecurity, but they also have this defensive part of it. But this one is deployed in an organization, because you as just a person, you can't just go ahead and start now buying an enterprise level SIEM like Splunk just to monitor your single machine there. You have, most of the times you'll work maybe in a different organization. If you are very good, you think you can do better in organization, you can work as a defensive person or as a cybersecurity analyst within an organization. I think SIEM, you'll have to get a certification in one of these SIEM tools, especially if you get a certification in SIEM. I think it's quite important. Yeah, I don't know if I have answered your question, but I normally talk a lot, so forgive me for that.
No, that was okay. Actually, yeah, you said the necessary stuff. Everybody like who wants to get into cybersecurity and starting with the tools. So the session was great. I loved it personally. And I can see there aren't any questions from the members. This session was recorded. You can find it on the SheHacks YouTube channel. And I've also shared the slides on the SheHacks Telegram channel group actually. So yeah, I think you have all the materials needed. I think we'll come to the end. Thanks so much, Rhoda. And we'll surely arrange another session so that we can look more into the Splunk SIEM tools. So I think I don't see like Nancy's in the meeting. Yeah, maybe she'll join us on Saturday and any other session. Maybe Maria, you can say something and then we can close the session.
Thank all for coming, and thank you, Rhoda. It was very informative, and it ran a bit long, but we learned so much from you. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you, Tony. And is it Raula or what is it? Oh, is it?
It's Maria.
Maria, because I cannot see the name. I'm only seeing she asks. I think thank you very much. And for my audience, I don't know, maybe I hope you have understood something, because if you don't see questions, you always assume either there was nothing there which you are trying to pass, there was nothing which was being understood. or everybody was able to get the concept clearly. But I know it's not like a practical thing based on your end, because you are not able maybe to do it on your end. Maybe it could have been a more practical if everybody was doing the same thing we are doing, or analyzing the same way we are doing. So, but maybe in the next sessions or any other time, we can do it more practically, and you can prepare yourself for the session. Anyway, thank you very much for the hosts and everybody who joined.
Thank you, Rhoda.
Okay.
I feel like we can close this session. And if you have any more questions, Rhoda, do you have a social media link, or can you shout out on Twitter?
Oh, Twitter is just Rhoda Momo. Everywhere is just Rhoda Momo. LinkedIn, Rhoda Momo. Twitter at Rhoda Momo.
Okay, that's okay. If anyone has any questions, they should get in touch with you on social media. But for now, I'll say thank you and good night to everyone who attended.
Okay, bye-bye. Nice day.